How can spiritual growth change your life? Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. And today's question, as we continue with our thesis of building a spiritual power, is how can this spiritual growth actually change your life? You know, there's a lot of work involved, and we need to find out, well, what's in it for me? What are the benefits? Okay, well, I was talking to someone on the phone the other day. He was driving to the store and talking over his car's Bluetooth system. But as he drove, he was getting very, very frustrated with the other drivers. Either they were driving too slow or they weren't reacting quickly enough to the traffic signals. And so his frustration level was rising and rising. It was painful to listen to because I knew that as his frustration level was rising, so was his stress level. That meant that his heart rate, his blood pressure, and other vital functions in his body were being switched into the fight or flight mode. And in that mode, the body turns off many of the body's functions, including the thinking parts of the brain. Thinking slows you down, right? So in a fight situation, or you don't want to be thinking, you want to react. And so it was turning down the thinking part and turning up the reactive part of his brain in order to better react, in order to better fight and respond to the needs of the moment. So basically, he was moving more and more and more into the fighting mode with every complaint as he shouted at the other drivers while he was locked inside his car. After that phone call, I thought about all the damage that people are doing to themselves and their lives by acting in an unconscious and materialistic way. They're acting as if they are powerless, and they're angry about that. They're angry about the apparent reality of that injustice, that they are powerless. But the truth is, they are actually very powerful. And the situations that upset them and send them off into these flights of insane anger are actually of little consequence, especially when infinite intelligence is called in to help. Please, click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. I would love to hear your comments, thoughts, and suggestions, so please use the chat box on the right side of the screen or the comment section below. And you can subscribe by the logo in the lower right-hand corner. So, working to build your spiritual alignment with infinite intelligence can go a long way towards solving many of the so-called problems that serve to derail the lives of millions of people. Things can go so much better once we know that we are in tune with with infinite intelligence. Once we know that we once become more spiritually aware and we work with spirit, it can make things happen. So what are the changes? What can you expect when you become more spiritually aware and begin working with spirit? Well, one, it changes your mind and gives you the ability to stay calm in many situations. Two, it empowers your intuitive senses and gives you the vision to see the underlying factors affecting the turmoil that is before you. Three, it instills confidence because now you have the knowledge that spirit is with you and can resolve the problems. And four, it creates a sense of expectancy because it brings synchronicities that can deliver opportunities. And five, it charges your aura with an energy that gives you the power to transform situations by your very presence, just by being there. Now, these changes all take place as you become more and more acutely aware that you are actually an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. I know I use that a lot, but I want it to be embedded in your brain that you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence, so that no matter what is going on, that is automatically coming up. The truth of that is coming up. You are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. Now, one of the most important things that I have learned as I continue to work to align myself with infinite intelligence and to more fully rely on the power of infinite intelligence is the ability to shut out chaos. The ability to shut out chaos. If you can shut out chaos, it will make you stronger. Your mind and spirit have to be quiet in order to access the spiritual connection to infinite intelligence. So it's critical that your mind be quiet, that your mind be peaceful. So shutting out the so-called real world chaos gives you access to your higher self, which is directly connected to infinite intelligence. As you access your higher self more and more, you will notice in yourself an increased ability for equanimity. Equanimity. Equanimity is defined as a state of psychological stability and composure which is undisturbed by experience of or exposure to emotions, pain, and other phenomena that may cause others to lose the balance of their mind. Now, because of this equanimity, you will be able to see the acts of anger and hostility that people commit are actually expressions of fear. Yeah, fear. Eventually, because of the powerful peace within your aura, your very presence can begin to change situations. I remember several years ago walking back to work after lunch with a group of coworkers. It was on Market Street in San Francisco. We were passing an area where several homeless people were congregating. And suddenly, one of the homeless men pulled out a butcher knife, big butcher knife, and angrily threatened to kill the man who was standing in front of it. It was a pretty ugly situation. But my higher self saw something in that man who held the knife. So I was immediately moved. I was moved. I didn't do it on my own. I was moved to walk up to within a few feet of those two men, and I said, "You don't want to do that." Now, the man with the knife was startled by my words. And he said, "Who the fuck are you?" And I told him, "I'm someone who cares about you, and I know you don't really want to hurt anybody." He stared at me for about a minute. He couldn't believe his eyes. He was confused. Finally, though, he lowered his knife. And then he started to talk to me about what was bothering him, what the problem was. And as we talked, he was totally ignoring the man that he was just about to kill. He eventually gave up the knife, and I told him to leave before the police came. My colleagues from work they were like, "Whoa, what the..." They thought I was crazy. They thought I was crazy, but at the same time, they thought, wow, that was really a brave thing to do. But you know what? The truth was that I was not really in control. At that moment, I was an instrument of infinite intelligence. At that moment, infinite intelligence was in control. And throughout that entire incident, I was in a state of mental peace. I was just riding the wave. Would I have done something like that before I started working with spirit to become more in alignment with infinite intelligence? Not in one chance, no. I would have steered clear of that whole situation because all I would have seen was anger and hostility and danger. I would have never seen the fear beneath it. Becoming spiritually aware heightens your sensitivity to those around you. You can see and feel their distress no matter how well they try to hide it. Becoming a spiritual warrior charges your aura with energy because you've reclaimed your energy from the past where it was being held hostage. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of our energy is locked up in memories of the past. The hurts or insults or mistakes or failures, it's all locked up back there. The emotions that are connected with those events are still locked up with those events in our memories. And those memories act like hooks that latch onto our energy field and siphon off the energy from the present moment and drain it back into the past because we haven't let go of them yet. But in order to be at your full capacity right here, right now, you must let go of the past. You must forgive the past. You must cut off those cords that are draining you. You must forgive yourself. Once you're able to do that, once you're able to cut the cords that are draining you, then you become fully charged, fully energized. Yeah, and it can actually be seen. It's surprising, but it can actually be seen, though you'd be surprised as to who can see it. Babies and animals can see your aura because they operate at an alpha state of mind, which is close to the dreaming state, so they can see at the higher vibrations of electromagnetic energy, much higher than most of us can. You see, as we become more anchored in physical reality, our ability to see becomes narrower, more limited. So we get to a point where only thing we can see are the heavier, slower vibrating, solid objects. We can only see what's solid, and they can see above that. So babies and animals see auras. And so when you start doing your spiritual awareness work and you get better and better, your aura begins to vibrate a rich blue color. And since the auras of most people vibrate with dull, dark colors, the blue auras, which are really light, stand out. So babies and animals are attracted to them. They will stare at your aura. I remember being in a crowded airport a few years ago before the pandemic, and there were a couple of babies nearby. One of those babies was being unruly. The mother couldn't shut him up. But when I sat down, the baby saw me and quieted down. He quieted down because he'd become mesmerized by my aura. He was just staring at me. Then nearby, another baby did the same thing. They both sat quietly staring at me until I got up and went to get a cup of coffee. Another benefit of spiritual growth and alignment is that spirit brings synchronicities into your life. A synchronicity is a coincidence that's not a coincidence, where things seem to fall into place as if by luck or coincidence, but the truth is infinite intelligence is at work. So those synchronicities have provided me with wonderful opportunities. And I've also been protected by spirit in sometimes amazing ways. For instance, I remember at one time driving a car that was on the verge of collapse. And I was teaching classes, technology classes, at corporations. So I had to drive around to different companies to teach these classes. So I really needed my car. But my car was on the verge of collapse. I knew that, but I didn't have the money to pay for it. Finally, I had gotten together enough money to pay to get the car fixed. So I drove to the garage where it was going to be fixed. I had to drive and leave it overnight because I had a friend who was willing to drive me back home after I dropped off the car. So dropped the car off in the evening, went home. The next morning I called about the car. And the mechanic who had examined the car asked me how I got it to the garage. I told him I drove it there. And he laughed. He told me I couldn't have driven the car there because of its sorry condition. He said that if I had tried to drive that car, it would have blown up. In addition to that, he said, the car wouldn't even start when he tried to bring it into the garage to examine it. He said they had to push it into the garage. Now, in his opinion, this problem with this car, or problems, had been developing over a period of time, and the car should have been unusable for a while. It was a piece of junk, basically. But it hadn't been. I hadn't been using it. So after that conversation, I sat down, I thought about it, and I realized that the car had been held together by spirit long enough for me to get the money I needed to fix it. Spirit kept that car going. So the question of the day is, how can spiritual growth change your life? The answers. 1, it changes your mind and gives you the ability to stay calm in many situations. 2, it empowers your intuitive senses and gives you the vision to see the underlying factors affecting the turmoil before you. 3, it instills confidence because now you have the knowledge that spirit can resolve problems and is helping you. 4, it creates a sense of expectancy because it brings synchronicities that can deliver opportunities for you. And 5, it charges your aura with an energy that gives you the power to transform situations by your very presence. Now these changes all take place as you become more and more acutely aware that you are actually an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. And becoming more spiritual is a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work. It involves developing clarity in your thinking, releasing the debilitating pain of the past, and surrendering the illusion that you're actually in control, because you're not. But the upside is that the changes that come into your life as a result of your spiritual work makes it all worthwhile. Let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Please remember to click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. I would love to know your thoughts, your comments, your questions. You know, I'm really open to questions. I'd love to see some questions. So please use the comment section below the video. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.